Welcome back to the Intuitive Mentor Mom podcast, where we explore strategies for practicing more self-love, gratitude, and finding new ways to empower ourselves in this ever-changing healing adventure of life happening for us. I'm your host, Mychelle. Let's get started. Welcome back to Intuitive Mentor Mom podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you that are new, thank you for joining today's episode. Thank you for joining us. I am an intuitive empath. I also work a corporate job. I'm a single mom. I have an amazing teenage son. He's fantastic. And that is that's a whole thing in itself, is raising teenagers. Oh my goodness. We're in a new phase. It's a lot of fun. But today's podcast was designed and meant to be an aha moment. So sometimes I'll have these moments in life where it's like I get a download, boom, and I've got to say it right then and there. I've got to record it or I've got to write it because it's a download. It's a profound moment for myself. It's a glimpse and an opening into something that maybe I've been asking about. So I had one of these moments recently, a couple weeks ago. I was going to post it then, but I actually wanted to keep it for the court of life, because this segment of the series, or I should say this segment of the podcast right now, is really about being on the court of life. And if you go back to the last couple episodes, 13 and 14, I really talk about how I always have seen my life as like a basketball game. Like if I'm being on the court of life, it's like being and playing a basketball game. And this particular part of life is, there's a phrase or a request that I ask every morning when I wake up. And I tell God, my higher self, my connection, show me the truth of myself and show me the truth of others. So I recently had an aha moment about that, and I recorded it that morning. I wrote down 6 things that I do, and I go through them in the segment. So I'm going to let you listen to the segment, and then I'm going to come back, and I've got some questions for you. And this is really an opportunity to take a look at how life is happening for you, and who are you being in the world. And when you ask your higher self or God, however you want to see it, show me the truth of myself and show me the truth of others, I'll share with you what that's like for me in my life, but I'll also share with you the aha that I had around it. So here we go. This has to do with being on the court of life. And when we're playing on the court of life, I talked about that in the last episode. What does it look like for you to play full out? So something I say every day, I want to share this. Something I say every day is, when I wake up, is show me the truth of myself and show me the truth of others. So when I wake up and I do my prayer work or my energy openings and cleaning out my field, that's something I say. And like clockwork, people will show up and show me the truth of themselves. Whether it's something they say, it's an action they take, there's always truth being shown. And it's gotten to be where it's so good, even if I'm out in the dating world, like I'll go on dates and people just unload all their truth on the very first date. They'll say all these things and I'm like, wow, okay, awesome. Now I know the truth of who this person is. What I haven't been doing, that I discovered recently, is I hadn't really been observing the truth of myself. Now, I'm not to say I don't do my own personal journey work and my own healing work. I do that all the time. But in my everyday, day-to-day, I recognized, now I'm looking for people's truth, but what about your truth in the whole experience, Tara? What is your truth in the reaction? What is your truth in the experience? What is your truth overall in your day-to-day? And I began asking myself and looking at this because I recognized, maybe there's aspects of me that I'm not paying attention to. Maybe there's aspects of my truth that are not quite illuminated in my sight. And I have a particular situation where I had set a very, a boundary with a friend of mine, a person in my life, and, made some claims about that relationship and set a boundary, only to have a few days later recognizing my own truth, realizing that I didn't hold to those boundaries. And maybe the claims that I was making on that person are really just a reflection of me. Maybe that's what's so. And those claims of myself are habits that I'm now recognizing about myself, hypocritical behavior that I'm recognizing about myself, not holding true to my boundaries, not holding true to my word. I want to say flip-flopping. What's the word? Sitting on the fence, wavering back and forth with what I really want to do versus what I really believe in my heart versus what my reactionary response is. Does that make sense? That sounds weird to me, but I'm trying to explain it the best I can see it within myself. But this is what it looks like for me to be on the court of life. And this is what it looks for me to really begin to dive deep in what is my truth? Am I who I really say I am? Are there areas that I have to look at that maybe I'm not being who I say I am? And when I'm not being who I say I am, what can I do differently? How can I show up for myself? And then how can I show up for that person that I'm interacting with? Making sure that I really am being true to who I say I am. Because I'm only selling out on myself when I'm not being my truth. And that is what I'm recognizing about myself this week, is although I take all these actions in life and I do the work and I forge ahead doing the things that I do, I really had to look at the nitty gritty, like take a look at, okay, if I'm going to say this every morning, show me the truth of myself and show me the truth of others. And I'm only focusing on the truth of others, but I'm not focusing on the truth of myself. Then what am I doing? What am I doing? So I wanted to share that because I thought that was really interesting about myself in the last couple weeks, is really stepping back almost as if to fine tune who I am. Fine tuning my truth. Making sure that when I say what I say is really what I say and what I mean. And if I say something and my actions are different, then what does that really mean about myself? Where am I lying to myself about something? That's what I'm looking at right now. So I'm really curious what you thought of that segment. I listened to it and I was like, wow, there's actually steps that I take. And I want to ask you, when looking at yourself being on the court of life and really looking at it from the perspective of you taking a look at the truth of who you are and the truth of who others are for you, is really a profound way to start your day. And some of the things that I had to look at, and I'm going to ask you to take a look at, is what are your habits? What do you do? Have you ever really sat with your habits and what they are? Also, looking at your behavior. I had to take a look at my behavior in this situation. And more has unfolded, which I will save for the next episode, because there's been more that has unfolded around boundaries and around self-love and self-care, which we talked about in the last episode. Being your word. Being your word is huge. Are you being your word? Have you ever really thought about who you are when you tell people and speak things into the world? Are you being that? What is your truth? So you may give your word, but are your words truly rooted in your truth? And is your truth truly rooted in your words. Also, am I who I say I am? I got to see that I really wasn't being who I say I was. So, are you who you say you are? Are you really being your truth? I'm going to give a quick example. So, I've been dating and I was on the dating app recently, actually last night, and I came across a profile that I thought was really interesting. And this person had said that, what they were looking for, like who they are, was an empathetic person and they're compassionate, and that they're looking for somebody who's empathetic, somebody who's compassionate, somebody who's trustworthy, and somebody who's open minded. And then they said, please be vaccinated, can't be a Trump, DeSantis, MAGA supporter. That's not too much to ask. Now, I'm sure that might be triggering to some people, but the very first thing I saw was you just said you wanted somebody open minded, yet you just closed your own mind. Just something to consider, y'all. We say X, but are we really being what we say? You want somebody open minded, yet you just laid out a bunch of judgments. So are you really being open minded? I would assert maybe not. And this is what I'm talking about. This is the piece that I talk about for myself is I really had to look at, show me the truth of others and show me the truth of myself. Where I had been not putting my focus on was the truth of who I am. God shows me the truth of others every day. There's truth right there. Boom, right there. You say you're open minded. I don't think that you really are. Because if you have all those judgments, there's no possible way. There's no possible way. Your mind is not open. You just said, hey, anybody that falls inside this category can't even see you. That's what you say. That's not open mindedness. So I challenge you and I challenge myself. Are you being the truth that you say? Is your truth rooted in your words? And are your words rooted in your truth? And if you haven't looked at that, I challenge you, explore that for yourself this week. Ask yourself the questions. What are my habits? What are my behaviors? What are my boundaries? Am I being my word? I forgot to mention the boundaries. Am I being my word? What is my truth? Am I who I say I am? Are you really who you say you are? I challenge you to explore that and then come back and comment below. Tell me like what came up for you. And for those of you, by the way, I am looking for six individuals who are interested in coming onto my show and talking about an area of life where they're challenged, where they're stuck. And I'm going to provide you a complimentary session where we are going to do a deep dive, and I will use my intuitive gifts and we will unpack things, and we will create an opening and boost you to that next level to have you see that aha moment for yourself so that you can shift out of that and move on to whatever it is you're looking to create. So I am looking for 6 individuals who would like to come on the show. If that's you, please go to the show notes below, click that link, sign up for a session, and we will get you on the show. But I just want to say thank you to all of you. We are going to look at the next episode. I want to talk about the holidays are coming up, and I want to talk about balance and being on the court of life in the area of balance and self-care. As we expand out on that, I want to talk more about that in the next episode. So until then, have an amazing week. I want to say thank you to all of you who continue to join me and to support this show. Share this with a friend of yours who is going through something, who needs to hear something uplifting, or maybe she just needs a shift in a new perspective. Please share this show with those people. I look forward to working with you. If you guys come to join me, those 6 individuals or anybody who wants to work with me, I look forward to working with you, and I will see you on the next show. Have a great day. Thank you for coming on this healing adventure today. If you're starting to see how everything is falling into place for you, consider rating the show and sharing it with one of your friends. Keep that spirit alive and join me next week, same place, same time. Have a great week.